everyone, and welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is me, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my fantabulous chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez.
Oh, ominous introduction.
Yeah, I tried to go with as many different possible tones within that sentence as I could. I decided we're not gonna be like a good film, an established tone.
No.
Everywhere.
Yeah, we're gonna be a Watiti film.
Yeah, something for everybody. Exactly. Welcome, folks.
Except the two of us, apparently.
Right, yeah. Well, there might have been something in that movie for me. It just wasn't on screen very long and wasn't enough of it. Anyway, how the heck is everybody? It's another Thursday. That means it's time for the Captain Logan Show. And tonight we're going to talk about the unfortunate rigors of the writer strike and how it's already affecting superhero movies. We've got not one but two strikes because of the writer strike. It is unfortunate. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. We've got some Patreon comments or questions rather that we're going to go through as well. And if you want,
I can't get past unfortunate rigors. That's the That's the Man of Steel prequel I want. Is like, what was he doing on that oil rig? That exploded. That's what I want.
You need that prequel.
Yeah. Unfortunate rigors coming to a theater near you.
Hey, we're also going to take a lot of your questions if you're watching live throughout the show. The lead-in topic shouldn't take too long, so you guys are going to get a good deal of the show. We do have quite a bit of Patreon this time. We're going to sprinkle that throughout the show instead of covering all of that at the beginning, because otherwise you guys won't get to interact with us until probably an hour into the show, because I tend to be kind of long-winded, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen. If you want to make sure that your question, we'll answer anything within reason, is discussed on air. I mean, try to make it geeky, but we'll take some exceptions too. Leave a super chat in any dollar amount. That absolutely guarantees that we will talk about your question, your curiosity, your complaint, your topic, your fascination with a DJ, and anything that you want to talk about, for the most part. And we will take some regular comment questions as well if we're able to. DJ, tonight, no matter who leaves a super chat, every single super chatter is going to get this sound. I wanna take you for a ride. Every time tonight, you're gonna get it every single super chat this evening. So
I can't hear what music you're playing, but it looks great from the expression on your face.
Leave a super chat and can you not hear it? Did I not set it up right this evening? Here, I'll fix it.
It's all good.
I'll fix it. Oh no, I actually hung up on him. That was not the right button. I'm off to a great start. I'm hanging up on my moderator. I forgot to share the sound.
I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to not hear the music. Don't fire me.
You're fired. You get nothing. Ever occurred to you that your initials could also stand for direct message? Anyway.
Yeah.
So leave us a super chat. We're gonna take you for a ride. Hey, tomorrow night.
Only meaning to slide into the DM. I don't like it.
Tomorrow night, Austin and I are going to do I want to say mini marathon, but it'll actually be few enough episodes I can't call it that. But we're going to do a commentary, kind of a watch party on the 2-hour pilot of the 90s Flash live-action series, which will be really interesting. That show was off the heels of Batman 89. It comes out right in 1990. Really wants to be that movie, but it's The Flash, so it's tonally very odd. And as that series progresses, it only got one season, but it was like a 24, 26 episode season, so it actually has a decent number of episodes. And as it progressed, it got a little bit lighter and a little bit closer to the Flash comics. But right at the start, it's like shockingly gritty, but also wonderfully cheeseball. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So whether you've seen that show or not, come hang out with us while we watch it. I think that's available on Max. I'm actually not sure if there's a way to watch that online, but a lot of people tend to just listen to us talk and don't actually watch it with us anyways. So come hang out with us. We're going to do a watch party where we're going to watch that show. And what else? If you want to be able to leave questions before the show, in case you can't make it, or because you don't want to leave super chats, become a patron at the $2 tier, patreon.com/geekvolution. It's a nice bang for your buck. Every single week you can leave a question, and we will try to get to all of them, but the questions we don't get to, and we've managed it so far, but the questions we don't get to will be answered somewhere in the next show or an extra show or something. We will get to all of them and make them good, because I'm going to read them regardless,
Well, I'm gonna
of what they are. Right, DJ's going to read them to me because I'm like a little child that needs a bedtime story read to me, and DJ is my babysitter that reads me the bedtime story.
Yeah, if we don't do the Captain Logan show on Thursday nights, Cap's just tossing and turning all night.
Yeah, well, that, and you've seen how incompetent I am. Like, if DJ's not reading... Well, I mean, I hung up on you 2 minutes into the show. Like, if you're not reading, who knows? I could be reading questions from somebody else's live show. Like, anything could be happening.
Self-deprecation's funny.
Hey, soon, and I'm not sure when this is going to happen, I'm going to try to introduce you guys to our new social media manager, Nikki, Brandon's fiance. She is a professional social media manager. That's what she does for a living. She offered her services to me for the channel. She and I had a meeting today where we kind of hashed out some of what we'll have her doing, and I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know about her in case we already start getting posts and clips and things going before she gets on the channel or before the next time you guys see me, because that's going to start pretty soon. I don't know exactly when we're going to start getting social media going, or more than we're doing, because honestly, I'm super lazy about it, and I need somebody, and I'm incompetent. I need someone else doing this kind of stuff for me so that it actually happens consistently. So we're going to be posting fun clips and things from recent things, and even videos going way back some, and I'm excited to see what she finds, and I'm going to help her out and find some things too, because we're posting, even only going 3 days a week, we're posting somewhere between 5 and 6 hours of content, so there's all kinds of crazy random stuff that happens that we can get fun content out of that some of you guys won't have seen, because the majority of you, I'm sure, don't watch every single hour that we post during the week. I know I don't.
I don't watch anything that I'm on.
But yeah. Tom Atkins says her pay is less Brandon harassment. No, there will probably be actually more Brandon harassment having her around, because I'll see him more, and so there's no way around it, right? It'll just be I don't know, it's a ratio thing. The more I see Brandon, the more the likelihood is that he gets harassed. So, yeah. I'm actually hoping that we can start having him on some non-After Dark content more often, because I miss harassing him on camera.
Yeah.
He and I actually just talked about this today.
Oh.
He wants to make a whole series out of it.
Brandon bashing?
That's catchy. We'll put it on the list.
Okay.
I've already started that list, and anyway, it's not all alliterative. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and get into things. Some somewhat depressing news, depending on what projects you're excited about coming up. Not shocking or anything, at least one of the two. I'll go with the less shocking one first, I guess. So, DJ, the Batman Part 2 is delaying its filming. This comes from CBR.com by nearly 6 months. The Batman Part 2, starring Robert Pattinson, sees a lengthy filming delay amid the WGA strike. This was supposed to start filming this year, and it's been put off all the way to March now. And that's rough, because it also took a long time for the movie to even get announced. You had Matt Reeves kind of waiting to figure out what exactly he wanted to do with it. They weren't rushing, which is a good thing. And, I'm like, I want to say, oh, good, 6 more months. It's even less rushing, but I mean, they can't work on it. They can't do anything with it. Like, the script is probably mostly done at this point if they weren't that far away from filming. And even if it's not, they can't. Well, obviously, with the writer's strike, you got to assume the script is not done. They can't start filming. They don't have a script. Mm-hmm. So it's not like that time is going to, actually let them work on it or anything. So that's a bummer.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But I imagine that's just going to be happening left and right until we get this writer's strike sorted out.
Yeah, it's so weird, and I don't want to sound crass or like not like I don't have sympathy for the writers themselves, because I do understand why this is happening. Something's got to give. We've talked about this, and I don't want to get back into it real deeply. What exactly the writer's strike is about, but I'll just say real quick, if you haven't heard us talk about this, that the model for how writers get paid, particularly for television, but also for movies, has changed so drastically, and it's become so much more difficult for writers to make a living in Hollywood that this was just inevitable. This was when the contract negotiation came back up, it was almost certain. I think people knew for a long time that a writer's strike was inevitable, and I had heard, rumblings about it for a while. If you don't have if you can't get any money on the back end because of reruns and things, and you don't get paid enough up front, you're just sitting around for months and months before your next job, not having enough money to live on, while arguably the executives and the folks at the top and the companies themselves are sitting on enough money to maybe make it easier for those folks to keep making a living at it. That's the argument anyway. And not, obviously not knowing the complete ins and outs of it, I don't know what those numbers all are, but it certainly sounds like a completely understandable position that these folks are in. But having said all of that, it feels like COVID all over again. It's like we had all these delays during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, and people weren't able to film. They could write, they just couldn't make anything. And now they can make things, they just can't write. But the weirder story here, and it's going to be interesting to see what else this ends up affecting. I say 2 strikes. There's maybe another one, but it kind of depends on who exactly you believe with what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe the first one of these was actually, I almost said Morbius, DJ. Maybe the first one was Blade, because Blade was supposed to film soon, and they had to put that off, and the writer's strike may have been to blame, but I think it's more likely that they just didn't actually have a script at all in the first place, so it probably still would have gotten put off. I think it's been shelved for the time being. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe it would have just kept getting delayed. Maybe the writer's strike is just like putting Blade for right now anyway, indefinitely on hiatus. Maybe we'll never see that project at this point. Mm-hmm. But you could call that the first of 3 strikes. The writer's strike is causing superhero movies.
Yeah.
You like my word choice there, DJ? I was very proud of that.
I didn't know if it was intentional or not, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I should have put a big baseball there or something. I gotta quit doing that.
Couldn't tell if that was just your desk or the gong.
No. So my microphone sounded like that. The gong sounds like this.
It's a higher pitched sound there.
This one comes from fandomwire.com. Disappointing news about Ryan Reynolds' MCU debut. This news, I think, came out actually a few days ago, as the Deadpool actor gets banned from using his famous one-liners in Deadpool 3 amid writer's strike. So,
which is hilarious.
Yeah, this one is really funny, and I will say, I'm concerned about the final product with this, but I'm also having a hard time not laughing about it. A little bit, just because of the absurdity of how the definition of writing in Hollywood, and who falls under this. So if you're a member of the guild, you can't write, you can't add anything to a project. And I just wonder how far that goes. Like, it means that you can't rewrite anything on the day. You have to work with the script that you have already if you're gonna keep shooting something. So if at any point somebody adds a word, subtracts a word, like just filming, just actors in dialogue. If at any point, DJ, somebody omits words, adds words, thinks of a synonym, Like, do they have to keep doing other takes because they've technically rewritten a scene? Like, I wonder how far it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's just because he is credited probably, I don't know for sure, but he's probably credited as a writer for those films.
No, he is.
So,
And again,
if an actor probably just decides to like switch things up a little bit and it makes it in, that's probably not the same
maybe
thing
they
as,
wouldn't
like,
consider
him
that
getting
writing.
credited as a
Oh,
writer.
okay. That's a good point, yeah. Because I was thinking about the last writer's strike. That actually probably explains this, but I'll bring it up anyway. I was thinking about the writer's strike back in 07. And was it 07? Yeah. And you had late night talk show hosts back when some of those were worth watching. And you had guys like Conan who were still doing shows, but their writing staff couldn't write any material, so they had to ad-lib everything. And it's not like Conan just wasn't allowed to have a show because he was ad-libbing. But then then the question is, did he have writing credit on his own show? Or did he have a staff of writers that wrote nearly everything, and that's the loophole? That's why he was able to get around it. That was kind of the big question I had when I read this, was like, okay, well then, if Ryan Reynolds can't improv on set, why was Conan O'Brien able to make like a whole show about just, you know, like prattling on about silly things and sending people to the vending machines to bring the whole audience candy and taking off his wedding ring and spinning it on the desk? Like, that first week of the writer's strike was some of the most entertaining television you ever got, I think, with late night television, because it was Conan O'Brien just wasting everyone's time. It was basically this show.
It's Waste Your Time Evolution.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's going on right now. I mean, their writers are, I mean, I think they've completely stopped the shows now, but for a while the writers on those live shows couldn't work, and I think Jimmy Kimmel was like paying his writers himself for a while, but obviously can't keep that up forever. I
think you could even do that.
It was a whole mess. And
I know you could write for I know you could go write for an independent project that was outside of the guild, but I wouldn't think you'd be allowed to do that. That's interesting. I don't understand how any of these rules work.
Yeah. And that's a surefire way to like end your career, is to do that, like to go and write behind the back of the guild, and then like, because you're undermining everything that all the writers in the business are trying to do, and then you won't get a job after that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, no, they could cross lines and go back to work, but it would not behoove them to do that. That's an understatement.
That'd be a short-term gain, long-term loss.
That's right. Yeah, you're gonna go work at a toll booth or go work for the Dairy Queen after that. The strike forbids any additional work to be done on any script under development or in production as long as the WGA, I'm reading this article again, is not able to reach a fruitful resolution. And without Ryan Reynolds operating at full capacity, one can expect a toned-down film at the other end of the tunnel, as the script needs to be followed to a T. I absolutely agree with that. The only hope now rests in the fact that Reynolds himself served as a writer on Deadpool 3, and with ample source material, the film might just pull through and deliver as per the expectations of the audience. The problem is that Reynolds would have been writing that script, and I haven't looked to see who else's names are on it, but whoever else worked on that, or Reynolds by himself, would have been working under the assumption that they're gonna be doing a lot of ad-libbing, which makes you wonder how complete that script is. Because they've got a well-oiled machine. I'm sure that there will be some differences in going to MCU with how exactly that movie was plotted, but the way Reynolds works, I don't think would have been very affected by it. He's used to doing a bunch of different takes and cobbling together what they think are the best of them in post. And that's why you have two very different cuts, three actually with the Christmas thing, but two very different cuts of Deadpool 2, where the second one, the super duper cut or whatever that was called, has not just extra scenes that were cut out of the first, but also a lot of alternate takes. So the question is, are all the jokes written and then he just comes up with better ones on the day, or is the script actually padded out to some degree with improvisation? What I mean is, I would like to know what the page count is. Mm-hmm. You know, this could end up being a very short movie.
It's a very serious movie, like, because if what you're saying is
I'm
like
sure he's writing some jokes.
They don't write any of the jokes until the day, but he can't write jokes, so it's just like a straightforward movie.
No, and I'm not suggesting that. Definitely there's a lot of real writing that goes on with those movies, and I don't think even 50% of all of that is improvised, but I think there's enough of it that there's a question as to how padded that ends up being. I don't think it's like writing action in an action movie, DJ. They fight. They quip.
That's pretty good. That might be how they write Marvel movies these days. Quip here.
I'm pretty sure Marvel MCU scripts are 15 pages now. Reading just one more paragraph of this because I thought this was a really interesting point, DJ. The WGA strike. I would say your name like you're the only person watching.
Well, I appreciate that.
DJ is the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me feel special.
Yeah, I just like to engage you, you know, because I know that I just kind of prattle on and I don't actually care what you have to say. So I want people to think that I do. Is the thing.
Yeah. We got to keep up the facade. We can't have it. You know, you and Brandon have a certain hateful dynamic, and we have our own hateful dynamic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm incompetent and I'm compensating. The WGA strike, which now witnesses the biggest exodus of writers out of their writers' rooms, coincides directly with the second union of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman on the big screen. I had not thought about this. The first WGA strike, which took place in 07-08, also coincided with the filming of Reynolds and Jackman's first outing as Deadpool and Wolverine in Origins. That film now holds a 38% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think the only point that he's making with the Rotten Tomatoes score there is to say, obviously nobody liked that movie, but would Reynolds' part in it would that have maybe been a little bit better if he could have improvised in that movie? But then he didn't write that script, so maybe he did. Like, I don't know that the timing is very interesting. It's very coincidental that the first time he played that was during a writer's strike, and now probably not the last time he'll play it, but the first time in a very long time that he's getting to play it again, and also with Wolverine in the movie. That's interesting.
Well, in 30 years, we'll get Wade. Where he's just like old man Deadpool.
Dude, I'm fine with a Deadpool parody of Logan. I actually kind of wish that's what this was, now that you say that.
I think to really...
That's not really what I want, though. What I really want is Deadpool kills the Fox Cinematic Universe, which was Austin's idea, but ever since he said that... Omari Daniels, 38% is way too high for X-Men Origins Wolverine. Plus, DX says that he did apparently improv for Origins. I thought I had read that. So I'm not sure that guy is really making any point with that, except just to say, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, you think of something cool like that, then you got to write a whole article about it. So you gotta pad it out, you know.
Yeah. Kind of like you can't if you can't improvise.
Just like books, not all articles are worth reading. Some authors just have one cool idea and then they gotta write 150 pages.
Hey, I appreciate that he brought that up, though.
Yeah. It could have been a tweet, though, not an article.
So we're just kind of, armchair critics sitting back watching this whole thing, and we don't really know how the money flows or any of that. But if it were me, I would kind of want to just shut the project down until they could make it the way they want to make it. But that just might not be financially viable as they were, gearing up to get started with this.
And it sucks for both the two leads who are now like eating nothing but chicken and rice and like getting shredded and working out 8 hours a day.
Point.
And they're like, oh wait, I got to keep this body for 6 more months. Like, oh, God.
Yeah, it's not like Pattinson necessarily had that because they weren't about to turn around and start filming.
Yeah. But he's already, there's been clips of Hugh Jackman online already bulking back up for Wolverine. Like, that would suck if it got if it got delayed and he had to, like, do that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. What a good point. Isn't it crazy to think that Jackman is having to do that again?
Yeah. He was probably like, what the heck did Ryan Reynolds must be a heck of a salesman because he was, like, done with doing that after Logan. He was like, it's the last time.
He gave Hugh Jackman something you can't buy, right? I don't know what that is. You know, let your imaginations run wild. But I don't know how he convinced him to do that. Because I also read an article that said that, and this is not surprising, that Jackman, or that Reynolds had been harassing Jackman for years and years trying to get him to be in one of these movies. And you can kind of tell that even from the first one, he was maybe a little bit frustrated or just disappointed that he couldn't get a cameo from him. And that might be why he kept, inserting jokes about him, which is funny and maybe kind of better. Like, it's sort of fun that's like, yeah, we can't get him, so we're just going to constantly, play up this kind of fake rivalry between them. Or I say fake but rivalry between, or that, like, Deadpool has with Wolverine, who probably doesn't even know exists. That whole thing was fun, and, like, look how much more, I like the self-deprecation with that, like, look how much more attractive he is than me, and that whole thing. I always found that amusing. I don't know that I need a whole movie about it. I mean, I have been real leery of this whole thing in the first place, like, and so this kind of worries me a little bit, because they're not even going to get to make it the way they want to make it, and I wasn't real sure how excited I could get about this.
Yeah.
Because it's just the, obvious kind of fan service team-up thing. But then the fact that Reynolds always wanted to do it, I mean, it's nice for him that he's getting to make that, I guess. To be fair.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just saying the script might be...
He's doing fine. He owns a gin company and a cell phone company. He's a millionaire. He's fine. I don't feel too bad if he doesn't get to make his movie, but I'm happy for him.
No, I don't mean in that sense. I just mean artistically. I just mean as a creator. Just that, like, all this time he's really wanted to get Wolverine in one of his movies. It's kind of cool that he gets to write that. And
yeah, I hope he does service to it.
It could be a better script. It could have a little bit more of the passion back if he's getting to do the big thing he wanted to do with it. Even despite the fact that it's under the Disney umbrella, who knows what certain mandates could be there and stuff. I don't know how much the whole thing, even though it is rated R, there's no telling if there's any, holding them back, or if he gets to just make the movie he wants to make. I don't know if this is a James Gunn situation.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would love to be behind those doors to hear that.
Yeah.
That is interesting if they're willing to give up that much control.
Because I'm in the minority on this. Deadpool 2 is okay. I don't hate that movie. I've liked it a little less every time I've seen it. DJ and I watched that together. We've talked about this. But
all the way back in Marvel Mania Phase 2 all those years ago.
And by the way, I just want to go on record, DJ, because people keep asking me about Marvel Mania Part 3, and now that we're doing the Superhero Rewind commentary project, it's not going to make sense to make that show, because we're going to cover those movies there, and it's going to be basically the same thing anyway. So, I mean, you are always welcome on that show. Like, I don't want you to feel left out of the whole Marvel Mania thing. I mean, like, I also don't know how excited you were to do that again, because a lot of the movies haven't been that great. But, I definitely want to have you come back if you want to come back on any of those. I don't want you to feel left out. It's just not going to really make sense for us to do a Part 3 of that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I appreciate the invitation. I will oblige when I can. Or when I care to, because like you said, there's a lot of movies I don't really feel like I have anything to say about.
No, I hope you do. You did such a great job on those, and I didn't want you to feel replaced or anything.
Oh no, I won't come for you. I'll just come for Austin.
Yeah, don't do that, because he's willing to do all the crap movies you don't want to do.
He has no standards.
Oh, no, he does. He's just fine complaining for 2 hours about something he can't stand.
That's true. That's not something I enjoy. That's not a pastime of mine. I don't really like talking about stuff I don't like.
That's a big pastime of his. Yeah,
that's true.
It's why you try to associate, when you do a gig like this, you try to associate it with as many different kinds of people as possible.
Yeah. You gotta cover all your bases.
Yeah, it's not just about finding the experts on certain characters and properties. You also need the guy that likes bad movies.
Yeah. That's why sanitation exists. I mean, you gotta have someone who's willing to do that job.
But I was just going to say real quick, and then we'll move on. With Deadpool 2, I felt like, and again, I'm in the minority on this because a lot of people like that movie better than the first movie, but I just felt like I was reading a little bit of burnout on Reynolds' part with that. I feel like they made it very quickly after that first one. He looked a little tired to me. The script, I don't want to say it felt like rushed, but it just felt a little like, okay, we got to turn around and do this again. I think... And it's not like Days of Future Past to Apocalypse or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but it does watch a little bit like, if they'd had a year or two, if everybody could have just gone on vacation for a while.
Deadpool goes on vacation. I think they should name those like Mr. Bean movies. Or Ernest movies.
Yeah, or National Lampoon.
Yeah. Deadpool goes to Africa. Deadpool goes to jail. Deadpool goes to camp.
Weekend at Deadpool's. Oh, that's a different thing. But I think there's an outside ballpark chance, just forgetting the lack of improv thing, because that could really hurt this movie. Don't get me wrong. But just whatever that script is, there's an outside ballpark chance that I will end up liking this movie better just because maybe some energy that I felt was a little lacking in that second movie will be back from the first one. I'm speaking to no one but myself right now because I know probably no one agrees with this. But that's how I felt about that movie.
No, there's some people in the chat that saying they didn't care for Deadpool 2 either.
Yeah, but they might not think it's an energy problem.
Yeah, maybe so.
Okay, let's go ahead and start taking some questions. And I guess we'll go to Patreon first. But as soon as we see a super chat, we will go ahead and tackle that. So go right ahead, sir.
All right. Bill Mills.
Hi.
In honor of Across the Spider-Verse coming out this week with great buzz from critics, what movie, cartoon, or video game interpretation of Spider-Man is your favorite? Mine is Peter B. Parker in Spider-Verse. Oh my gosh. Favorite of all movie, cartoon, or video game interpretation.
And when he says interpretation, he means, I guess, animation and voice actor? Like just overall performance? Because he didn't say best voice actor. Interpretation. How do you interpret interpretation?
What is that study? What's the study of interpretation called?
Interpretography.
Yeah, so I guess because
I've coined it.
His is just one character of a movie version with several Spider-Men. So I guess he's not talking about what's your favorite video game or movie cartoon.
No, you could pick something like Spider-Verse that has several in it, but just pick the character.
I guess that would just be everything. It would be the writing, it would be the acting, it would be like the characterization of that Peter B. Parker, which is his favorite.
Yeah.
Which is a great one. I also love the main, or not main, he's kind of the main, he's kind of ours. The main one in Miles' universe is great, even though he's only in there, he's in there for one scene.
Well, is he just talking about Spider-Verse, or is he talking about anything?
Anything. He said movie, cartoon, or video game.
Sorry. There's something about the way you said that made me think I misunderstood the question. I think, yeah, and I mean, I like what Pine does a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He's like that's like that perfect on-screen classic Spider-Man for that one scene that he's in. Kind of all aspects of him in that one scene. He wraps it. He gets it all in there.
Yeah, I would love to see Pine do that voice for a adult Spider-Man. Because you know me, I like my early 30s something Spider-Man. That's all grown up but still doing it.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to get that, the kind of McFarlane 90s Spider-Man. So late 20s.
Or maybe he's the clone because he's got the blonde hair.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
he could be. I
forgot about that. I've seen that movie a few times, but I don't know it super well. I always forget about details like that. I will try to watch it again before I go to 2. I should mention real quick, by the way, before I answer that question, because I meant to say this at the beginning of the show too, that Sunday evening we're going to try to get out the review for Across the Spider-Verse. DJ, if you've seen it by then, of course, you're totally welcome to pop in with us. We're going to do that with Dan Torrey, if he's able to make it, and Connor. And originally we were going to do it next week, but I've got to rush out and see it now because I really want Dan there if possible, and Dan's got to do it this week if we do it. So that's the plan. Sunday evening. Sweet. I don't have a specific time yet. It's probably going to be somewhere between 8 and 9 Central my time, or Central my time. 8, 9 Central. Somewhere in there. But,
cap time.
But I will... Same cap time! But I will let you know as soon as I know, everybody, when exactly that's happening. But yeah, that'll be live, probably a couple hours.
Yeah, I was really hoping to get to go see it today at 3:30, but My wife has been severely sick all
Oh
week
no,
with
sorry to hear that.
this really, really bad strep throat, and she hasn't basically been able to get out of bed since like Monday. So I've been single parenting it, and she couldn't pick up the kids today from school. And if I went to see it at 3:30, I wasn't gonna get out till like 6, so it would
Yeah.
have been too late to pick up the kids. So I'll see it tomorrow. I'm seeing it tomorrow at 12:30.
Okay, cool. Well, let me know if you've got some time in the evening and you're able to pop in and hang out with us. 'Cause
Sure.
that would be great.
Well, you let me know what your favorite interpretation of Spider-Man is on screen or video game.
So like I don't know. My soft spot's always going to be with the 90s Spider-Man, of course. I think I've been saying this a lot lately. I've got kind of like this my favorite versus what I think is almost objectively the best kind of thing. So like I want to say it's probably Spectacular, but like my favorite is the 90s one. And I guess that's just because the writing in that show is better.
Yeah, that's the thing.
If it's the whole
That's always the
package, it's easy to
default.
pick a voice, but when you say whole package, I'm like,
Yeah.
that gets dicey.
That's always the default is Spectacular. I have only watched that through once. I need to go back and watch that through again, because I obviously really like it, but it's not like that easy of a choice for me like it is for everyone else, where everyone says that's just like the best and nothing can touch it. But I do need to go back and watch that through again. When my kids are a little older, I'll probably do that, and then I can familiarize myself with it a little more.
Well, we've got one super chat. Let's knock that out.
All right, T-Edge won $5. How do you look past an actor you don't like? Oh, it's good.
I want everybody to think that I just have this like an automatic thing where it just plays as soon as somebody's name comes up. Yeah.
Very fancy.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question?
I don't even know. How do you look past an actor you don't like in a movie that you like? How do you look past it?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question.
That is a great question. I don't think you've ever asked that before, Tom.
I think, which kind of suggests that all of Tom's good questions we've heard 5 times.
No, he just asked a lot of questions.
That's true. That's true. Good job. Way to come up with something new. DJ, how do you do that? Because we've all had this a lot, right?
I don't know if I have it a lot.
Or I say a lot, but I mean, we've all had this at least somewhere.
I don't ever have like, because I don't care. I never watch like stuff with actor. I don't know. I barely know anything about actors except for what I see on screen. So I don't have that thing where people are like, you hear Austin like complain all the time about whoever the heck the guy is that plays Shang-Chi, who he despises him and he talks about all the time.
Yeah, the Ezra Miller thing.
I don't know. Like I don't pay attention to Twitter or anything. Anything I hear from an actor.
I don't know that
like,
he's talking about personal stuff, just like an actor that you think is not a great actor.
Exactly.
Like you've seen them in things and you go, I don't like this actor, and then they show up in something really good, and you're like, okay, now I gotta watch this person.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't ever have that, but I do have, an actor I've seen in several movies, and I haven't really liked them in any of the movies. But then I see something where it can be hard to kind of put that aside, because ideally it would be different actors in every movie, and you could get completely lost in the fiction. But that's not how Hollywood works. The actors are super famous, and they get a bazillion roles, and you see them all the time.
That's what's nice about books.
Yeah,
but then you can have that with writers.
That's true. Yeah, sometimes someone's prose can slap you in the face as hard as someone's face. That's a really weird sentence.
Oh, I want to put that on a t-shirt. Sometimes somebody's prose can slap you in the face as hard as a face.
But yeah, so I don't like Jim Carrey. I've talked about it before, but I
knew you were going to bring up Jim Carrey.
I really enjoyed whatever that movie's called. It's getting a 4K soon, and I want to buy it because I still don't own it. Truman Show. Really, really enjoyed it. And he like never comes out. There's one scene in that movie where Jim Carrey came out to me, and it's when he's driving around the car in the circle of the cul-de-sac going, like screaming. I'm like, oh, it's Jim Carrey. But every other scene, he like completely is just everyman, normal guy. So it can happen. Even someone with as recognizable a presence as Jim Carrey. But yeah, and I also I watched Marriage Story, which I really enjoy. I didn't enjoy. It's a very sad movie, but what's her face is in that, who I don't like, who I don't like. I haven't seen her in anything that I've liked her in, which is Scarlett Johansson, and she was fine in that. I liked her in that, so it can happen. It's not unheard of for me to. But I only have a few examples. I can't think of any other ones.
But yeah, and I'm not thinking of any examples of that right now for whatever reason, but of course we've all had that. But his question was, how do you deal with an actor that you don't like? So like,
how do you look past?
Yeah. How do you look past? I've definitely had this. Like, you're talking about specifically situations where you see an actor in a thing and you're pleasantly surprised by their performance. But what about an actor that's in a thing that otherwise is good, but their performance you don't like, you can't deal with? You know what I mean? Like, just because the movie is good, like Jim Carrey, if you don't like him, could show up in a thing and everything else about it is good, but maybe you don't like him in it. You know what I mean? What do you do? Like, what do you do with that? Does that ever ruin a movie?
I have the exact same thing with the exact same actress, Jungle Book. I really, really like Jungle Book.
Oh, that's true, and we talked about this.
She's horribly miscast as Kaw, and it sounds terrible. It doesn't sound like it's coming from the snake at all, and I don't like it at all. So yeah, I just kind of have to suffer through that one scene. Luckily, she's only in one scene, and she's not like one of the main characters.
That helps. Yeah, it can end up just being like maybe the one thing you don't like about it, but it doesn't tear down the whole thing.
Yeah. Or like Endgame. God, do I hate every time Chris Hemsworth shows up, but it doesn't, ruin the whole movie for me.
Yeah, Brie Larson. Like, I like her fine in her movie, even though I don't think that's a very good movie. But she's got those couple token scenes where she does not know what to do with that character because they haven't fleshed anything about it out yet.
Yeah, she's just...
But that's not a great example because I'm not going like... I kind of don't have an opinion about Brie Larson. I'm not seen her enough. Like, pretty much just Captain Marvel, and then a couple things where I didn't even realize it was her. Like, earlier in her career, I'm like, oh, I guess that was her. Okay. But,
yeah.
So I don't dislike that actress as an actress. I just didn't like her in that movie because they didn't flesh that character out. It's not even really her fault.
Yeah. This is really a thing, Rowan. I guess this is more of a thing for actors who don't have as much range, where it's like actors who always show up and do their same thing. It's hard to look past when, that's what they're known for. That's what they do.
Yeah, people had this about, I guess some people still do, certainly, but I mean, people have this with Keanu Reeves forever.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm looking something up real quick because I cannot think of an actress's name right off. Oh, yeah, okay, so, and this isn't even an actress that I always dislike, but I'll also go to a live-action Disney place, which is funny because I'm done with those. Like, I've been burned enough, I'm not even
I haven't seen one since, I don't think I've seen one since Lion King.
Yeah, like, forget Little Mermaid, I'm not going to that. Like, I haven't been to the last couple. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, I don't even like the first Little Mermaid, so I didn't have any interest in that.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's very nostalgic for me. But it's not one of my favorites anymore to like sit down and watch. I never go back to it. But I've got a soft spot for it from when I was a kid.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with it. I didn't see it till I was an adult, which is like you can copy and paste that for everyone because everyone has their favorite ones they grew up with.
But I mean, it's definitely got issues and stuff that doesn't work for me. But by and large, I like the live-action Beauty and the Beast. And I know a lot of people really hate that and think that it's as bad as Aladdin. Although some people like Aladdin, which I don't understand because I think that's awful. But
yeah, there's really no consensus on those. Like it's
no,
kind of all over the place. Some hit. I think it's nostalgia.
The only ones that have consensus, like positive consensus, are the early ones. Like, I don't hear anybody talk about Cinderella, but when it comes up, it's like, yeah, that was fine. Like, nobody dislikes that.
Yeah, Cinderella and Jungle Book.
And Jungle Book, people seem to universally think is good.
I really like Pete's Dragon, and I hear a lot of other people talk about that, but I know a lot of people just didn't even see that one. So.
Yeah, I didn't bother with that.
But that's that's the most different, I think. I've never even seen the original, but I've heard it's very different.
But what I wanted to mention with that real quick, because this sort of applies to this question, and then we'll move on. I don't like Emma Watson in that at all. I just think she's miscast. It's not even her fault. I just don't think she's the right type for that character, personality-wise. Like, I feel like she's playing a different Belle, and not an interestingly different Belle. Like, the movie is telling me that she's doing one thing, but the actress is kind of doing something different, and I just didn't think that she knew how to play it. And so that's weird, because it's like your lead is taking me out of a movie that otherwise I really like. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But I was able to get past that because everything else in the thing works. And I guess most everything else in that movie works for me. Some added songs that are kind of crap. But but I guess, so I mean, I guess to answer his question, like, writing gets me good writing, good storytelling, regardless of even if whole elements aren't working, goes a long way for me. And sometimes when production values aren't there, that's enough to, make people want to close up shop and go home, even if the script is otherwise good. I don't have that. I can look past a multitude of sins if you at least have a good starting place story-wise. So that's how I get past it.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time even answering that because it's not something I consciously do. Like, just sometimes it works for me and sometimes it doesn't. I can't really do anything about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's rare, and I think Mike as Plinkett said this somewhere in a Red Letter Media video, but I agree with this. It's really rare that an actor is the problem. Like, even if you have a not great performance in an otherwise great movie, it usually works out okay, and you can look past that.
Yeah. Yeah, and because I don't ever have I don't dislike Jim Carrey. I've actually listened to him in interviews, and he sounds like a really cool guy. But when I say that, whenever someone says I don't like that actor, what they're saying is I don't like what that person brings normally to movies that I've seen him in.
Yes.
Which is a very specific, meaningless statement because you could see other movies and your opinion could change.
Or, because with Jim Carrey, this is not what you're saying, and I've been sitting here trying to come up with a really good example of this. Or there could be an actor that you legitimately think is not talented, that keeps getting work.
Yeah.
And then that person shows up in something that you're interested to watch. Why can't I think of a good example of that? But that happens.
Yeah. Well, Chris Hemsworth lately.
Lately, yeah. I guess it's hard for me to come up with something because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus where it's like, this person is not talented.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not thinking of any immediately either.
And also I'm trying to think of actors that I've seen in multiple things and have had this with. Like, I think back to Watchmen. I finally went back and watched that again recently, by the way. We talked about how neither of us had seen it for years, and I finally showed it to Jason, so I sat down and watched it again. But the guy that plays Ozymandias in that, I don't think that's a good performance. I think he's miscast. But I don't think I've seen him in anything else. So I don't know if I don't like that actor or if I just don't like that choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't even know because, he could have been directed to be super cold and all the things that you don't like about him in that.
Yeah. I don't think... Okay, here's an example. I don't think generally Natalie Portman is a particularly good actress. But then, more recently, she's been in stuff that I've liked her in and been like, oh, okay, there's what is it, Annihilation? And there's a performance there. So I'm having a hard time coming up with an example.
V for Vendetta?
Yeah, and that's really early. I'm having a hard time, but I didn't see that for the longest time. So, I'm having a hard time.
That's what I'm saying. It can be all based on your own experience, too. You could have not seen all, but, if you saw, if you saw Mark Ruffalo now and didn't see any of his performances that he did, before 2012, I would be like, well, how is this person an actor? but yeah, of course he did good stuff earlier.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and move on.
All right. All right. We've got one more from T-Edge1. I almost read this as what's on the donkey for tomorrow, but it's what's on the docket for tomorrow.
Well, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Tom, we're going to do the watch party for the 1990 Flash party, or Flash pilot.
I want to take you for a ride.
Oh, now it's
I just couldn't get to it before you read the question.
It's short. I even read an alternate.
So we've got about 10 minutes before the break. DJ, why don't you take us back to Patreon for a little bit?
All right. Next Patreon question is from Matthew Brody, not Matthew Broderick, which I almost thought, which would have
been. It'd be cool if Matthew Broderick was watching the show, but he's probably got better things to do. Do you think Matthew Broderick is a good actor? I'm going to ask you this about every actor that comes up. Do you think this person is talented? I think he gets miscast a lot. I've liked him in stuff.
I think he has a very narrow...
He's not versatile, is he?
Yeah, he kind of just does the Ferris Bueller thing. He's Simba, I guess, but I don't think he's great as Simba. As great as that movie is. He's fine.
And that's voice acting.
Yeah, he's fine in it.
I'm just saying, like, not belittling voice acting. I'm just saying that doesn't always tell you a ton.
Like you could be a bad voice actor and a better regular actor.
Sure.
That doesn't.
And I also
different skills.
and I also like actors that don't have range. We've talked about this before, but like that's not. No, but what I'm saying is, I'm not putting down actors that aren't about a big broad range. You can have a limited skill set and still be a really good actor. You just have to be cast in the right things. Like I like some actors that just play themselves every time, and you'll hear a lot of actors say that the job is to not actually act and be convincing. And some people have a lot of versatility in doing that, and some people can really just only do the one thing. Does that mean that they're not credible? Does that mean that they're not actors? I don't know. But I think if you put them in the wrong things, it will definitely look that way.
If you put him in the worst Christmas movie I've ever seen with Danny DeVito, it's terrible. What's that Christmas movie that Matthew Broderick is in? I can't even remember. Deck the Halls. It's horrible.
Okay, but I was picturing Keanu Reeves in that role, and now I want to see that. Cinematographic says he's okay. I liked him in Inspector Gadget. I don't like that movie, but I guess that was as good a casting as you could hope for that kind of thing, I guess.
I don't think so. Inspector Gadget's like this weird, goofy, like hilarious, like funny guy, and then they made him like be straight-laced normal guy.
No, you're right. No,
such
you
a
win.
Weird
Hey, I haven't seen that in 30 years.
Like he's like a Doc Brown type in the show, and then in the movie he's like just generic car accident. Normal schmo.
No, that's right. Actually, the actor that they replaced him with in the direct-to-video movie is a much better choice.
That's true.
That's who they should have gotten in the first place. Now, I haven't seen that. It's probably terrible. But that seems like...
It is.
Who was that, French Stewart? But that seems like a good choice, though.
That's the guy from Clock Stoppers, famously, that we did a commentary on.
Remember that?
And he's also Marv in the Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. He takes over for Marv.
Why do you know the subtitle for that movie?
It's a Christmas movie. Christmas is my thing. Yeah, man. They bring it back. That movie makes no sense.
Christmas is your thing?
That movie makes no sense. Let me tell you how little sense that movie makes. So we have Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 1 and 2. Then we go over to a completely different character in Home Alone 3, where he stops actual 4 terrorists from like blowing up the world.
And it's better than it has any right to be. But
it's so good. It's so funny. And then we go back to Home Alone 4. It's Kevin McAllister again. He only has Buzz and Megan. He only has 2 siblings.
Completely recast.
Yep. His parents are divorced, which does not seem like it would ever happen.
No, if they could get through that twice, they're going to live together forever.
Yeah. Well, everyone's recast because it's like way later.
But no, I know that. But what I'm saying is if those characters could get past leaving their kid home and then getting him lost in New York and that didn't break them up, they didn't get a divorce, they'll be together forever.
Yeah, exactly. But it's supposed to be the same character, Kevin McAllister. He has Buzz and Megan. He doesn't have Lenny and Jeff, his other 2 siblings. Then he's 9, which another crazy thing about the Home Alone movies.
You were a Home Alone fan.
He's 8.
You know the names of the characters in Home Alone? It's amazing.
He is 8 in the first Home Alone movie. He's somehow 10 in the second Home Alone movie, even though they talk about it being last year, like throughout the entire movie. Don't know how that works. He's apparently 10. In Home Alone 4, he's 9. And it's 6, 7, 8 years later. It's crazy. Home Alone movies are nuts. I haven't seen 5, and I haven't watched whatever the monstrosity on Disney Plus is.
No, don't do that. Maybe it's like the 1995 Power Rangers movie where it looks like it should be canonical, but it's not. maybe that's what's going on with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then it's just Marv. Harry's not there, and then he's got like a wife that they just got out of prison. I don't know if he got a wife in prison. I don't know how that worked. It's crazy. Crazy movie.
He got conjugal visits.
Yeah.
Somehow.
And his wife talks
good behavior.
Like, crazy. She calls him Ma. She talks with this like insane Boston accent. Not a good movie.
Good.
Not a good movie. The Nick Rules just said there's a Home Alone 4. Yes, there is. You should check it out.
We'll do
smart home.
We're gonna do a blind commentary in December.
Home Sweet Home is the Disney monstrosity. That's right. Thank you. I forgot what it was called. All right, let's get to Matthew Broderick's question.
Let's do one more and then we'll take a break.
With the release of The Flash with the release of The Flash only weeks away, the director...
The last movie that will come out before the end of the world is The Flash.
It breaks it breaks Hollywood.
The Flash didn't just reboot the DCEU, it rebooted reality.
He says, the director recently commented that if a sequel is greenlit, Ezra Miller should return. Aside from his controversies, I personally feel that if we are truly rebooting continuity, we should put the previous DCEU incarnations to bed and recast fully. What are your thoughts? Also, if they choose to keep him, how much would the backlash affect the brand of DC films when it comes to consumer confidence? I personally need a fresh start for everything, in my opinion.
So I'm wrong a lot about things. But I'm going to go on record, and I'll eat something not edible if I end up being wrong about this, DJ. Somebody can come back and play me the soundbite of me saying this. But
we'll get Nikki on it.
Yeah. I was just thinking that we'll have to put a pin in this so that she can come back and be like, Cab, just so you know, you got to eat something not edible. But it's like my little brother used to say, everything is edible, it's just not all digestible.
Yeah, and for you, that's just cheese.
That's true. That's true. So here's the point I'm trying to make. I don't see that happening at all, and I'll go on record to say, like, I would bet you money, DJ, that there's nothing to be concerned about here. It's not gonna get a sequel, and if you're that director, it's not surprising that you've got wishful thinking and that when you're on the press tour, you're talking about it like there's maybe a future in it because A, you want people to go see it. So you're acting, whether you're actually in denial or not, like there's a future for it. And again, B, he's going to hope that he gets to make another movie because he gets paid. So, but it would be like digging your own grave if you were Gunn and you pissed off what feels like the universe but can't really be the universe. Like, I don't know how much of it is just... I mean, it's not fair to say that it's just like the Snyder mob or whatever, because I know there's a lot of people that love Cavill that are upset that he is not bringing Cavill back. So I don't mean to say that it's just 15 people on Twitter. It's not the release the Snyder Cut thing. It's not. But I don't know that it's as many people as it sometimes feels like it is. And I'm mentioning that because Matthew Broderick and I are together. At least he agrees with me that whether I love Cavill's casting or not, it's time to move on. It's time to get away from that baggage. We need to recast everything. We need to start completely from scratch with a this is my feelings with a totally new fresh take, fresh start, new beginning with this. I don't know what word I was looking for. And it would be insane, though, if he were to not bring Cavill back, but keep Ezra Miller of all people.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. There's no way.
There's no way. I could see why some people might be thinking it's plausible because if we're soft rebooting and some of this is we're going to have to see the movie first before we can really have this conversation to get a sense of how much it's really the ending of this in its almost inevitable soft rebooting thing is really going to play into where Gunn is going, but whether it really feels like that. But it would but I can see why some people might be, I just think it's kind of naive thinking though, but I could see why some people might be looking at this and going, well, the one thing I could see you keeping would be your Flash. Because if that's the thing that you soft rebooted out of and he changed everything, and then sort of like in Flashpoint, he's that character played by that actor is standing there at the end in the changed universe. Like, does that movie end with Ezra Miller's Flash doesn't exist in his own movie? Probably not. So I can see, I think it's likely that you'll walk out of the theater thinking, I mean, if they wanted to bring him back, I guess they could. There he is. He'll be there at the end of the movie.
The agent of chaos in me kind of wants that to happen. Wants him to be the only one that makes it, that survives this reboot. Just because that would be crazy.
It would
But
it would be a mistake for lots of reasons. It would be a PR nightmare
yeah,
for Warner Brothers for obvious reasons with Ezra Miller's bizarre and crazy behavior and illegal stuff and whatever. And also a lot of people don't like that actor's performances either. Like I think that Flash is the least liked, at least before the Snyder Cut, because some people run more over on him by then. But I think up to that point, was he not the
one performance?
Was he not the least? Say it again.
It's crazy how strongly people feel about him because he's only given one performance in one movie.
I guess that's true now that you say that. But technically two, because all of his scenes in the Snyder Cut are different.
Yeah, they reshot a lot. Joss Whedon made him reshoot a lot.
But I would be very, very, very shocked if that happened. And Gunn, in order to help this movie make money, because it's insanely expensive, and there's no way they do any better than just barely breaking even. And I don't think that'll even happen. But the best they could possibly do is break even. And I think there's like a 20% chance that they don't lose money, like a lot of money on that movie. So I think Gunn is got to be talking about it the way he's talking about it. Maybe he actually does like it. It is pretty weird that he's talking about how great that movie is.
Well, I can't stop hearing about how everyone thinks it's great.
Yeah.
Stephen King coming through my feed saying it's a great movie. I don't
even like superhero movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to have to see what that movie looks like. How much of it is just people being won over by cameos? Because last week I said I really don't think that movie is going to have a lot of cameos. Again, I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. Because I found out immediately after that, and I won't mention what it is for anybody that doesn't want to know, but I stumbled upon accidentally, because I'm trying to walk in as blind as I can too, but I stumbled accidentally upon a reference to something that's kind of surprising they're doing, and I'm like, okay, well, if they're doing that, then anything is possible. Because somebody asked if I thought Gustin could be in that movie, and now that I've heard about one cameo, yes. My answer last week was probably not. My answer now is, yeah, actually, yeah.
Sure.
Yep. And maybe even probably, but yes, more than possible. Guys, we're going to go ahead and go to a break now. Stick around with us, won't you? We'll do another part of the Captain Logan Show, another hour right after this 3.5 minute break, and throw in some more questions if you're so inclined. We'll see you in just a little bit. And we're back. It's time for the second half of the Captain Logan Show. And DJ, what else do folks want to talk about? Remember, if anybody leaves a super chat this evening, we're going to take you for a ride. So, party with us, won't you? All right, what are we going to talk about?
I was totally singing that on my break.
It's going to be stuck in your head to the point where you're going to be like, okay, you can't play it anymore. Like, you got to quit.
It's banned. Elliot Slater left a Patreon question. What a cool name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got a great name. I always get jealous of guys like that.
Reminds me of Max Elliott Slade from the 90s, who played Jeffrey Douglas, a.k.a. Colt, in the Three Ninjas franchise. Only actor to make it through all three of the original trilogy.
Why do you know that? When you say original trilogy, there wasn't like a remake of that or anything.
There's a fourth one with completely different actors, including the actor who played Rocky in the season 3 of the little kids versions of the Power Rangers. He was Colt. He was the new Colt. And not an actor. Good Lord.
Okay, but is he better than Steve Cardenas?
Debatable.
I almost mentioned him earlier with actors that I don't think are very good actors, but
oh, how dare so mean.
I know that's why I didn't. And then it's shocking that you just brought him up again, or at least you brought up a Rocky.
I'm just in the 90s today, man. I can't get out of it. I'm talking about
that's me every day though. Yeah, I will say though, Cardenas was shockingly good in the 30th anniversary special.
Oh, that's cool. I still haven't seen that.
That is the best. I don't know. He learned something somewhere. That's the best he's ever been. He didn't get a lot to do, but he's really good in that.
Well, that's good.
He gets teleported to the command center, and he complains that he was in the middle of trying to eat his noodles. He didn't get to finish his noodles. He's all pissed off. It's great.
Sitting there eating your oodles of noodles. Elliot Slater, in your opinion, are there any stories left to tell with Batman? It feels as though DC has done everything with the character.
Yeah, and sort of like with Marvel, with everybody, they do things even when it's real ill-advised, and we're just doing a story because it's never been done, not because it's a good idea. But no, my answer's got to be yes, because there've been a lot of, I've talked about this before, but there've been a lot of like Elseworlds and out of continuity stories with Batman that make me go, okay, I thought we'd done everything, but I haven't seen exactly this before. And then there's also just lots of riffing on old situations and concepts that you can do where, yes, maybe it's a premise or real tangentially related to a premise that you've seen before, but a writer makes it their own, tries, puts a different kind of spin on it, and makes it feel fresh and new again. And I think Batman is, and you could do that with anything, but I think Batman is more versatile than a lot of characters in the kinds of stories you can tell with him, because he is, and this is not to say that you can't tell stories where Batman himself has a real character arc and changes and has character growth, but much of the time he's a character that refuses to change, and it's about, the challenge that's put on him to try to break his rules or to compromise his morality in some way, or it can be about the way that Batman changes the people around him. Like, there's a lot of good Batman stories are he's almost a wraith in the background, and your main character is actually a villain that is fighting him, or a secondary character, or somebody brand new that's this kind of one-off story. Like, Batman is, there's a lot of really good serialized stuff that we do with Batman, but a lot of the best Batman stories are kind of more anthology things. And so, yeah, I don't know. It feels sometimes like we're out of Batman stories when people go to the same kind of popular wells. So, like, too often when you bring the Joker back, it's like there's nothing left to say with his character. Well, it's because we're saying all the same stuff with him. We're not trying to go somewhere new with it much of the time, because it's too much about giving fans what we think they want and that kind of thing. And I love that kind of challenge, DJ. Like, I'd love to sit down and write a Batman story and be like, what can I do that hasn't been attempted yet?
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Campbell.
Hi.
What novel recommendations would you give for someone who hasn't read much prose since high school English class, but is looking to get into the medium? Sci-fi/mystery picks would be appreciated.
I'm not a big mystery guy. DJ, I don't know if you've read a lot of mysteries.
I haven't. But recently I've been wanting to... I was thinking about this recently because I was such a big Scooby-Doo kid when I was young. And like, I want to know where do you go? Where do Scooby-Doo fans go when they grow up? Like, what is... There's not. Like, I want like an adult equivalent of... Maybe not kids. It doesn't have to be kids, but just like people like freelancers going around like solving a mystery, but also some supernatural stuff to it. Like there's whodunits, which kind of scratch that itch. Whodunits have been making a comeback lately, but none of them are supernatural. And like, I don't know. There's a lot of horror movies that are that kind of thing, but I'm not big in like gory, like just watching people get killed. I want like a mystery that's got a little bit of supernatural to it. I don't know. Let me know if you like that kind of stuff. What's a good grown-up Scooby-Doo fan movie or series that I could get into?
I was going to say, and things that aren't juvenile fiction.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of young adult that goes to the Scooby-Doo kind of plays.
Well, I think subconsciously I was thinking about this because Grace and I watched Clue recently.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed it. It was a really fun Friday night. We had neither of us had ever seen that, and it was fun. But I mean, that's not supernatural, but it's kind of that vibe, you know, whodunit type thing.
No, it doesn't sound like it should be a super narrow niche, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Like more haunted house movies. Just tell more shit. Alien is a haunted house movie, but in space.
That's a good call. Yeah. Well, yeah. Why don't we have more of that kind of stuff?
Do more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, totally off the topic of prose and novels, but
and of course this isn't novels, but I'm thinking maybe there's probably more stuff in like the X-Files kind of vein than anything, because that is close to that, and that's the sort of thing that I'm more into. Like, it's not that I'm like the biggest X-Files fan in the world, but occasionally I like things that scratch that sort of itch. Like, it's not freelance like you're talking about, and it has a little bit more of a horror bent than the kind of thing you're talking about. But by and large, it is just paranormal investigating.
Well, and it used to be a huge genre. Like, that's where Scooby-Doo came from. It was like, I used to talk to Eric about this, another big Scooby-Doo fan. He sent me actually a podcast that was digging up old archives of this like radio show that you could clearly see the influence on Scooby-Doo, where it's just like these people and they're stuck in this house, and they're traveling and they get stuck in this house and they're going on there's like a big mystery and murder stuff happening, and that was really cool. But most of those episodes of that radio series are lost. That's like the one complete episode is the one that he sent me, and I was like, this is awesome. And then it was really sad when Eric told me that there was no more. But I think that's just because it was such a big genre then that it's kind of come out of popularity. Kind of like the Western.
A couple of quick novel recommendations, and I have just not been reading a lot over the last couple of years, but I would start you at, and this is not short, but I would start you at 11/22/63 by Stephen King, which is one of the best time travel things I've ever read, and it's and DJ, I think you would actually kind of like that book. It is not real, like overly complicated, convoluted kind of time travel. It's very limited time travel. It's a conceit before it's anything. It's pretty character driven, and it's got a creepy component to it, but it's not horror. It's certainly science fiction before that. An earlier Stephen King novel I'd give you, because that's over a decade old now. But it's about a writer who finds a time machine and can only go back to one particular date in history, and every time he comes back to the present, it resets. And he's going back to solve a mystery, and it's all about the JFK assassination, and it's which sounds like a really obvious thing to do, but he goes a very different way with it than anything else I've read. So anyway, I would I would definitely recommend that.
Does he stop the comedian?
Yeah, I actually had that joke. I had this joke with Jason. We were watching Watchmen, and I looked at Jason and I said, "Okay, so the comedian killed JFK, and Magneto tried to stop it."
And the kid from Umbrella Academy was there too.
Oh, and I haven't watched that.
I recommend the first season. I think it's good.
Got
Don't
it.
recommend the second two.
Yeah, what comic characters were at the moon landing? I wonder.
Yeah, everyone seems to go to the same place all the time. Travel people.
Yeah, they're just all hanging out in that one place. It's like we're all in these weird gaudy costumes. You'd think somebody would have noticed us.
Well, that's why the comedian had to be so far away from a impossible distance.
Yeah,
that
and
you
I'm
wouldn't
joking.
think
To be
they
fair,
could
I
get
think he's
shot.
wearing like a trench coat. And Magneto is not wearing, like his Magneto helmet.
No, Magneto's actually
Wouldn't that be
wearing
great?
a Ninja Turtle costume with a trench coat over it. Because then no one can tell who he is.
But that novel is cool because of the details. He talks a lot about how much better the food is in the 60s before all the preservatives, and he does a really good job invoking all of the senses. Stephen King's great at that. Another Stephen King book that I would recommend, going farther back, actually a couple, and this is going to make it sound like I'm this massive Stephen King fan, but I guess this is just on my brain now. Firestarter is a great thriller that is kind of like X-Men in its way. It's about a character with superpowers that gets them. I say it's like X-Men. Only sort of. I mean, because it's not a mutant, but the politics are maybe a little bit similar in places. I don't know. That's not the best example, but anyway, that's about a girl who gets whose parents were involved in genetic engineering. And when she's born, she ends up with the power to start fires, and it's kind of a fugitive thing. She's running from the people that created her, and then The Running Man is actually a really good novel, and not that much like the movie with Schwarzenegger. But it is classic science fiction, and those two books make me wish that Stephen King had just stayed in science fiction and not done as much horror, because he's actually a really good science fiction writer, which is part of why I went there. But I'm also a big fan of an obscure book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I've talked about a lot on the channel. It might lose you in the second half because it gets kind of technical, and you go far enough into the future in that book where there are no more humans, and so it gets very bizarre in dealing with the technology and what's left after humanity and stuff. But it's very relatable up to that point. It took me a long time to actually finally go back and finish that book, but now that I know how it ends, I recommend that to anybody. That's written by, I think the guy's last name is Sheffield, maybe. Look it up. Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Guy's name starts with an S. And Bob Garland says The Running Man is my favorite novel. It's wonderful. I would also recommend, I've got it back here actually, the ghost-written, the William Shatner ghost-written book. So it's not, really Shatner. It's another guy who, writes novels, who did a book called Tech War. And I have not read anything past the first book, but it's actually surprisingly good and has a little bit in common with The Running Man, actually. But that's another one that I would recommend. And then I always bring up, what is that book? I'm sorry, I'm having to go to a well that I haven't thought about in a little while. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, let's move on. I'll think of it in a second.
Have you ever seen the film? You just reminded me of this.
Yeah.
I guess just by saying running. Have you ever seen the film Silent Running?
No, I've never actually sat through that.
Big
I know what that is,
sci-fi
but
film from the visual effects, directed by the visual effects guy who did the VFX for 2001. which is really fascinating. It's another space thing. He's got like this droid-looking robot with him. Arrow just put out a really nice limited edition release of it. That's why I was thinking about it. They have a really cool steelbook set. It sounds interesting. I kind of want to check it out. Silent Running.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always meant to see that. I'm remiss at a few of those kind of classic science fiction movies.
Yeah, it sounds cool. He's got like basically Wall-E with him. little Wall-E robot. We got a super chat from Lewis Cox.
Yeah.
Hey, Cap.
Hi.
What would James Gunn's Krypton be like?
I guess we'll find out.
But I don't know. Also, hey, DJ. Thank you. I love when I get shout-outs.
I'm sorry, was that a super chat?
In the super chat. Yes, it was.
I thought it was. I thought so. Anyway. No, that is a question that I think every Superman fan curious about that movie has got to be asking themselves right now, right? Is what exactly his Krypton looks like.
Nowhere.
I would think, well, that's what I was going to say, is I would think that Gunn would do his level best to get as far away from the Guardians aesthetic as humanly possible. And I think it's also, I don't know, man. I don't have predictions yet. Like, I've been trying to drum them up, and I think I'm putting up a blocker in my brain with trying to predict things from that movie because I don't even want to guess at anything. I'm so curious to see what his Superman looks like. I said months ago before we even got the announcement that this was going to happen that the thing I most wanted to see Gunn make was Superman because because in premise, that idea seems so far removed from his sensibilities, and I want to see him prove that he can do it. Because if he can get that far outside of his comfort zone and make a really compelling, authentic Superman movie that is as close to as authentic to as Donner was as he can get. I don't mean like Donner. I just mean authentic to the spirit and the ideals of that character. And make it, a really fun, engaging, thoughtful kind of movie. It means he might be able to do just about anything. And the fact that he took it on makes me think that he wants to prove that to everybody. And that makes me not want to guess based on his other work about what things like his Krypton and all the cosmic stuff and everything is going to look like, because he's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to fully embrace his own sensibilities and try to fit Superman into that without changing the core of it too much, where you can tell, okay, this is very much a James Gunn movie, but hopefully he can nail the tone and it's still Superman. Or it's not going to feel like his thing all that much at all. And, I'm sure nobody's going to agree with that as a possibility, but I can see him just trying really hard to do something completely unlike anything he's ever done before.
Which he's never done before, which is that conversation we had earlier where you said, you can see a writer in the work, and it can be just as obvious as an actor.
Yes.
So hopefully...
Is that possible?
Yeah, we'll see. This will be his chance to prove it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Childhood's End is the name of that book. Arthur C. Clarke. It's one of my favorite science fiction novels. It's all about the terrifying aspects of a collective consciousness and how a collective consciousness could, at first glance, look like it might be the best thing for humanity, and then ultimately is the scariest thing. And that's why I love the Borg so much. It's always the thing I'm kind of most fearful of is like losing my identity. So I really gravitate toward that as a motif in science fiction.
So nobody steal Cap's identity. This is his biggest fear.
Oh, and everybody should read the original Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. There's another one.
Shall I?
I only threw out science fiction books because I don't know anything about mystery. I feel like I copped out on that question, but I really don't know what his Krypton is. I think he'll look at Byrne more than anything, and I think you could have the really sterile, celibate kind of Krypton. I'm honestly hoping, if this isn't a prediction, but I'm hoping that he looks at the animated series Krypton as much as anything. Partly because I want him to go to that Brainiac characterization if and when he does Brainiac. But look at that and look at 1927 Metropolis. But maybe more for his Metropolis.
That would be amazing. Yes, make Metropolis look like a German expressionist city. That would get me excited.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bruce Timm is looking at Metropolis quite a bit with his Metropolis in the animated series.
Yeah, that would be crazy if he went full tilt in that direction with 2025 movie. Unknown passenger, would you rather visit the Fortress of Solitude or the Batcave? It can be any version of either.
Yeah, definitely the Batcave. I mean, I'm so predictable, but part of it is I don't like the cold. And the Batcave would be cold enough,
dank,
because it's a cave. Yeah, I don't need to get any colder than that. I already basically.
I don't mean that in the way that the youngsters are using it. I mean, literal definition of dank and dingy and wet.
God, how many words do you have to say that about now? You can't just speak English anymore. Everything is a slang term.
Yeah, well, that's always the case. Boss.
Well, I don't want to be a hypocrite. It's not like I don't use slang. Somewhat ironically, though, when was the last time anybody but me said boss? Like, I still use that. I don't do the bad as good thing that we did in the 90s, though.
You don't say sick?
No, I've never said sick.
That's a sick question there, Lewis Cox.
Yeah. I've got friends that say that. I've never gotten on that bandwagon.
Well, we say all kinds of stupid stuff. I still say sweet from time to time, which is pretty dumb.
I latched on to sweet somehow, but for some reason, that's one that caught on even with my generation. Like, I know people in their 50s and 60s that say sweet, but none of them say sick. None of them.
That's a 90s thing. When I was growing up.
It came back, though, because everybody I know that does it now is like your age or a little younger. So it came back.
Well, it was late 90s. Like, it was, when I was really young.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I think it disappeared and came back, like, recently. I don't want to name any names, but, like, we've got people in our audience that are patrons and stuff that use sick, and they're all, like, 23, 24, 25. Lewis Cox says, I say wicked a lot of times.
Wicked cool.
Alex Barencap
wicked smart.
Becomes an old man ranting about slang. I'm just ranting about the sheer number of slang terms we have is all. Because I've done this where I'll just make a statement and somebody's like, oh, why are you using that slang term? I'm like, because it's a word that means a thing. Like, I don't have another synonym right this very moment. Why is life such a puzzle? Maybe I am an old man. It's fine. It's fine. So if I have to pick a version of the bag, see, some of it with the Fortress of Solitude also is a lot of fortresses are kind of dull. You've got the ones that have a whole bunch of technology, and sometimes they'll even have like part of a menagerie of animals and stuff. And I guess that's cool. But if I want to see a bunch of cool space stuff, I'd rather just go to space. I don't really want to go to Superman's museum. I think the Batcave would be more fun. Just like it's all about atmosphere, right?
Yeah, I guess it's just a cave though. Like, I would much rather go to an alien, something different. I guess Batman's got cool stuff in his cave, but
well, that's just that. I mean, I've spent my whole life trying to build an area that feels as much like that as possible. That's why I have the bunkers. So I mean, you're talking to the wrong guy here.
When are you getting those poles installed?
Dude, that's probably the question I get more than any other question right now.
Do it.
It comes up all the time. Sarah and I have been talking about it for years.
Just cut a hole in the floor. Throw a pole
It's
up.
that easy. No, I definitely want to. Hey,
You're
DJ,
getting back in shape again, so you could slide down the pole, climb back up it even.
I'm sorry, did you say that I've gotten horribly out of shape?
No, I said you're getting back in shape.
Oh, I thought you said you need to get back in shape again so that you can...
So you could easily shimmy up that thing.
Which cave is difficult to say. I mean, I've got such a soft spot for 89. It's hard not to say that one. And that is legitimately a really neat cave, but
I figured you'd go with the actual literal bunker from Dark Knight.
well, it's not actually a cave. But I like the 89 cave because it looks so dangerous. It's got that Star Wars thing where it's like, just put up railings. Like, what's wrong with you? Just slide right off.
He's Batman. He's a ninja. Well, verdict's still out if that one's a ninja.
Okay, he might. Yeah, that one's definitely not. But if he's moving a little stiff for a ninja. No, I'm just that good. I can. If you can punch people from behind you without ever even looking at them, you don't need to move
Rafiki
like
style
Christian Bale Batman or anything. But you know, you say that like, oh, he's Batman, he doesn't need railings. But what about Alfred? He's gonna feel real bad the day that Alfred slips on something.
As we talked about last week, apparently Alfred can run an entire mansion by himself, so he can. He's superhuman.
You know, I thought more about that after you said it, but no one else lives there, and Bruce is rarely ever in the house. Like, how much does he even have to do?
I have trouble cleaning up my house. I don't even have enough time to keep my house clean, and it's nowhere near as big as just still cleaning that has to be done, and meals and stuff.
Meals for who, though? Like, Bruce Wayne hardly eats anything.
He has to. He's pushing like 220. He's got to keep those calories up. That's not realistic.
Well, no, that's not realistic. But it's only
while we're
those
breaking down
two,
realism in comic books.
But it's only those two living there.
He's got to be pushing down like 4,000 calories a day.
And also, there are lots of iterations where when you actually start looking around the house, there's a lot of like closed off rooms and stuff with in furniture under plastic, and yeah, like he's not actually dealing with the whole house much of the time.
Maybe so. But doesn't he have to have parties a lot and like have people over? He can't be looking gross and dusty everywhere.
That entirely depends on the version. Because sometimes he's more of a hermit, and sometimes he kind of has cake and eats it too. Where he's able to convince everybody he's a socialite. He's a socialite, but nobody ever comes over to his house. So yeah.
This is a new series we need to start. Just like breaking down Batman with useless realistic stuff that nobody cares about.
Hey DJ, guess what time it is?
Time to take me for a ride?
No.
Oh.
No, it's time once again for tattoo talk with Cap. I forgot to do it at the beginning of the show, but I got a new tattoo, everybody.
Cat chat.
And yeah, you know, this is my 10th tattoo, and I just feel like
it's a special occasion.
Elmo always gives me a good deal. But I feel like, and as always, quick plug for Elmo, ImperialHeartKC.com. Check out his work. You can get it on shirts and mugs and things that he prints himself. He's got a really good setup. It's all very high quality. I've got some of his stuff, and he does wonderful designs. And if you don't want to come all the way out here and have him draw on you, you can get things that have his art on them, like Mario stuff and lots of other cool properties. But anyway, I just feel like there ought to be a punch card. You know,
you should get.
You get your 10th
after
one.
10, you get the 11th one free, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm up to 10 now.
Let's do the math. Let's see
always gives me a
how
deal.
much other geeky stuff you could have bought with all the money you spent on tattoos.
Dude, don't do that, because I've had that thought, and I'm like, I don't want to count it up.
You could have completed your superhero movie collection probably already.
Maybe a couple of times, yeah. Nah, at least the once, yeah. Well, because there's some pricey things here or there that I still don't have, but
I just came across.
I've had that thought with the arcades before too, where I'm like, oh, what other stuff could I have bought?
Yeah, that's good. That's into the thousands. Those things are.
Darren Root Elmo's a nickname that somebody gave him a long, long time ago, and he talked about this on the show that I did with him last year. But yeah, his real name is not Elmo, but he's embraced that, and that's what he goes by. His real name is Michael.
Ah.
Anyway, I got a Lord Zed tattoo.
Hail Lord Zed.
There it is.
Does it say Hail Lord Zed?
It does not.
Oh, you gotta add that later. That'll be an addition.
Yeah, but it's the top of his staff, and it's got red lightning around it. And I thought of the lightning at the last minute, and I'm really glad I had him add that.
You should really add the duct tape from that one episode where you can clearly see like the staff is like held together with duct tape by the time they get to season 3.
Yeah, somebody made a comment about that on the
Beat me to it.
on the Here's the Grid Facebook group recently, and they were like, how come nobody's painted it that way yet? How come nobody's taken that figure and put a little bit of duct tape around that part in the figure? I was like, I don't want to do that to mine, but if I had a second one.
They need to put out
Anyway,
the sock face rangers in the game.
I'm going to finally do my big Ninja Turtle on my leg in the summer. Probably around my birthday is when that's finally going to happen. Big black and white Ninja Turtle that I'm going to have Elmo design. And I said this last year when I came up with this, but I'm going to ask Elmo to design it and ink it on me without my seeing the design at all until it's actually on my leg. I'm very excited about it.
Nice.
It's going to be neat. Hopefully it doesn't suck, but it won't. I trust him. He does good work.
All right. You guys stay tuned for more Tat Chat in the future.
That's right.
Turtle Tat Chat.
Because I'm a crazy person. Okay, moving right along.
S. Jerry. What are the most memorable or even worst theater experiences you guys have ever had?
We've answered this one before, and I got to be honest with you, the less I go to the movie theater, the harder it is for me to reach back into my past and remember specific movie-going experiences, DJ. I don't know if you've got interesting ones that immediately come to you.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more answers for the bad experiences because we've answered that a lot, but for most memorable, I still think Endgame is probably the best experience I've ever had in a theater. It was just like the perfect crowd, reacting like perfectly to the way I was reacting and in the same scenes. Like nobody was annoying. We were all on the same page, and it was just a really good experience. Also, The Martian, Ridley Scott film from 2015, based on the book, science fiction film, or loose, very, very.
I
loose.
didn't see that until years later.
Yeah, that was for whatever reason just an amazing experience. I haven't watched it since because I don't know, for whatever reason I haven't gone back to it, but the theater experience was incredible. Like we were all on the same page. We were all like on the edge of our seats. It's a really good suspenseful. I don't know what you would call that film, like a rescue film, I guess. Really good movie. Those two stand out. Rise of the Planet of the Apes stands out because I used to only go to the theater as early as I could, like 11 o'clock, so that I was the only, because I didn't like people in the theater with me. I've since changed.
Because I didn't like people.
I like to see them without a lot of people around, because I had some bad experiences. And I went to see Rise of the Planet of the Apes pretty early, and there was only like 2 other guys in the theater with me, and it was just silent, and it was perfect. Like when he goes, "No!" and like screams, it was like so quiet, and we're all like, it was great. That was a really good experience too. Yeah, I've had some good ones. But those are some memorable ones, which is what you asked. So hard to remember the non-memorable ones.
Yeah, I mean, besides just, idiots talking and babies crying and that kind of stuff, which we've talked about a lot. The more negative ones that stand out are just when there was something wrong with the projector or the screen or something. That gets very when you just can't even watch the movie.
I had that very recently, just last year. No, beginning of this year, with women. I saw Women Talking in the theater right before the Oscars, and that was a best picture nom, and it cut out like 6 minutes before the movie was over, and it sucked. It's like all the emotion was building for this one moment. If you've seen the film, you know what the ending is. It's like, and right before like the last scene, it cut out, and we had to wait for like 15 minutes for them to get it back on, and then we watched the final scene, which was great, but it didn't have the impact because stupid storm knocked out the theater power.
That's rough. That happened the first time I saw Doctor Strange, half an hour into the movie. The power went out.
Wow.
And I can't remember if we got to go back in and finish it or if we had to get a refund. I know that happened with, I can't remember what movie. There was a movie where the power went out before I even got into the theater.
Wow.
But yeah, one weird theater. Sorry, lots of things. I said I was stalling where I'm like, I can't think of specific incidents, and then a bunch of stuff suddenly came to me. I know this happened one of the times I saw X2, because I was working at the theater when that came out, and I love that movie, and so I probably saw it 5 or 6 times. And I took a friend of mine to see that, and the power went out part of the way through. So that's the thing I've dealt with a few times. District 9 is a science fiction movie that I loathe. Like, I legitimately hate that movie. And I was not the only one, because I took some friends with me to see that when it came out. And this is so awkward. This is one of the weirdest theater going experience I ever had, DJ. People I brought with me left the theater while I finished the movie.
Weird.
Got up, walked out, just hung out in the lobby or walked around the theater. I can't remember.
I just saw recently, or again, the beginning of the year, when I was watching the Oscar noms, I watched The Whale, Darren Aronofsky film. Amazing movie. Highly recommend it. But they were playing that dumb dinosaur space dinosaur movie that you guys reviewed earlier this year.
Yeah.
They're playing that next door.
See,
so
you don't want a real quiet movie.
I'm in the middle of these super emotional scenes with a father and his daughter, and I'm hearing dinosaur noises coming from next door. I'm like, turn it down.
Disaster films are the worst for that.
They're so loud, yeah.
Also, I mean, that's not a disaster film, but like those are the worst for that kind of thing. One of the coolest, maybe I've told this story before, but one of the coolest experiences that I ever had was when Batman Begins came out. And
oh yeah, I've heard this.
And you got to remember that this was like, obviously 7 years after the last one. We didn't know when or if there would ever be another Batman movie, and I was certainly excited about that, but a little bit trepidatious about it, because I was like, well, nothing's ever gonna beat out 89 for best Batman movie, and then it did.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I went. That might have been one of the first like midnights I went to, or like real early opening. I can't remember, but like I saw it pretty early, and I brought a like little Batman projector light that I had, and these are everywhere now. It's really easy to get these at this point, but back then they didn't sell these separately, and I still have it. I bought a Batman shoulder bag at a. Forgive me if you've heard the story. I think maybe I've told it, but I bought a Batman shoulder bag at a Hot Topic that was real neat. It's got like a old 1940s comic art, black and white on the inseam, and it came with this little projector light that for as small as it was, has really great range and will shoot huge on a wall. So I was sitting right in the middle of the theater, and I managed to get the bat signal to cast on the screen, like perfectly in the middle of the screen with very little white around it. Like black just between the previews and the movie coming on. And the whole theater applauded it.
You took a chance there, because that could have went one of two ways. It could have went that way, or people could have got really annoyed with you.
I don't know. People thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad they did, and that was great. That's really cool. Yeah, I've heard that before. That's
I've been doing this a long time. I've only got so many stories.
Classic Geekvolution story. No, I like that one.
I had a really good experience with the Lego Movie the first time I saw it. The crowd was as into it as we were, and I met a really cool family that we kind of hit it off with at that showing. But yeah.
Good times. Good times in the theater. Shall I go to another Patreon?
Goofster123, worst experience for me was The King's Man, first showing on Thursday evening in the theater, forgot to download the movie. I ended up seeing it on an airplane months later. Wow.
What did they do? Did they give you a
rookie
refund?
Mistake. How'd they forget? That's very unprofessional.
Well, it makes sense that it was a Thursday evening, I guess. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen like one of the early showings.
One of the funny, I'll tell this story too. One of the funniest things that happened recently at a theater, I went to see Wrath of Khan again, because I have this kind of standing thing with my friend Adam, where if Wrath of Khan is in the theater, we go see it. I think we've done it 5 times now, and every time it's showing, we got a tradition. We always go, and this had never happened to me before watching an old movie at a theater on disc. But the disc started skipping in the last scene.
Oh no.
And yeah, it was like a little art house theater. And,
Yeah, just playing with the big projector.
And they're using a big projector. They're just watching it on disc, the 4K or the Blu-ray or something. And I don't even know if the 4K was out yet, but they played it on probably Blu-ray. And something happened to it, and it was skipping. But it waited until the last like 2 minutes of the movie, and so it would just freeze frame, and then Kirk would talk to McCoy for a minute, and then it would freeze frame, and really somber scene right after Spock died, and everybody is just losing it in the theater. Everybody's cracking up. It was a pretty big crowd. Everybody thought it was hilarious. The sad thing was, Freddie had never seen it, and it was our way to introduce Freddie to that movie, and he had to watch the last 2 minutes skipping, and I was like, this sucks. So I wouldn't have cared if Freddie hadn't been there, but that made it kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, before you said that, I was like, that's probably good because everyone who's there has seen it. That's the reason you guys are all there. But yeah, it sucks.
Well, and sometimes if I can, I'll bring somebody to a classic movie. I don't go to the theaters much anymore, but I'll bring somebody to a classic movie in a theater so they can get to see it for the first time big. I mentioned this before too, but like I took Brandon to see Mask of the Phantasm in the theater, and he'd never seen it before, and that was one of the coolest experiences I've had because I got to watch Brandon watch that movie, and that's one of the only movies that I'm super familiar with that I had a different experience with seeing it in the theater versus at home after seeing it for so many. Somehow it changed the movie. And I've never been able to explain it, but that was a better movie in the theater. It was really neat to get, and I've always loved that movie, but it was really neat to get to see it that way.
Cool.
And maybe part of the reason it felt that way was just because I got to watch it with somebody that hadn't seen it.
I wonder if that'll get a theater re-release when the 4K comes out later this year. That'd be cool. Because I've never seen it still.
I hope so. I'd like to go again. All right, 10 minutes left in the show.
All right.
Last chance to put in some live questions. And DJ's still just going back to the Patreon well right now.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get through the rest of these or have to overflow them till next time.
Yeah.
Saqib Tariq, why do people insist on saying a franchise is dead or keep talking about it when they hate it? I have a few friends that do this. Wouldn't it be easier to engage with a franchise they like instead?
Well, I think often it's because they're upset that it went south, but people are still giving it money. Like if it's something that somebody's really into and it's bad now, and they're like, "Oh, this franchise is dead." Like people, you hear people now say that about Star Wars all the time, like, "Oh, it's dead." I think that strong a language tends to come more from people that used to really care about it, and like maybe they are engaging with franchises that they like more, but they're. And when you say still talking about it, maybe you mean why do you keep giving it money? Why do you keep going to it? And yeah, I mean, I can see why you would ask that question, but there's always that kind of morbid curiosity thing. If you've always been like a lifelong fan of a thing, it's difficult not to look at the train wreck. I certainly sympathize with that. I don't still do it as much with Star Trek, as weird as it is to not watch everything with that anymore, just because I don't care anymore with a lot of that. But there also is that innate curiosity. Occasionally I'll go back and try an episode and go, oh, yeah, that's why I'm not watching this. But yeah, I think it's just kind of sad when you really like something and they're making more of it, but you feel like it's just cash grab and it's not, or it's just not for you anymore. I don't know. Do you have a better answer for that, DJ?
No. I think you covered it. Yeah, it's something I don't fully understand either, because I don't, like I said at the beginning, I think what other question we talked about, I don't like talking about stuff that I don't really like, but I know it's a big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. And that provides a certain kind of entertainment for people, I suppose. And I don't know. I love that. I mean, I don't love that. It seems like kind of a negative way to live, but
Yeah, I mean, it gets clicks, obviously. So if he's talking about like YouTubers, it makes sense.
well, that too. Yeah. Well, and that makes everything so
Slanted
murky.
audience.
You know, there are new motivations for looking at entertainment now. It's not just about simply enjoying it, right? For a lot of people now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm part of that. Like, I don't only watch stuff because I want to watch it. Like, part of that culture.
That was Sakib. Another Patreon question from Chewbacca's lover.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on people using AI to make Batman give life advice in Kevin Conroy's voice? I saw this recently. It came up in my feed. Is it dangerous, and will a generation be messed up by it?
No, I don't think. I don't know that has a giant impact. I mean, everybody knows clicking on that, it's an AI voice. Like, I don't know how that messes up a generation or whatever. I don't know what to think of it. I haven't watched one. I keep seeing them pop up on YouTube, but I don't have an opinion on that yet. I don't really know what to. I'm not sure how to respond to that, except it's just people kind of playing around with AIs.
Yeah, I don't know how far. I mean, I don't know that everyone clicking on that does know it's an AI voice. It just says Batman helps you get over a breakup, or Batman helps you get over a porn addiction, or stuff like. That's all it says. If people aren't like well informed or whatever, might think that, I don't know.
All the ones I've seen, and I've seen the ones you're talking about, next to that in parentheses say that it's an AI.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
And I mean, I know it's an AI, and I haven't watched the videos. The only way I know that is because it said it in the title.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not gonna give everyone on the internet credit to. I mean, that audio will end up in another video. Someone else will repost it. It might not say that. People might not be familiar with history. Maybe you recorded that a while ago. I'm not. Obviously, I would know that. I'm not saying, but I'm not going to give everyone credit.
I think it's clear. I mean, I haven't listened to them, so I guess I don't know. But the technology's not good enough yet, where I would imagine you can't listen to that and be able to tell it's not really the man talking.
It sounds pretty good. I listened to one.
Okay.
I was pretty impressed by it. It's weird, but yeah, I don't.
But as
think
far as ruining a generation or whatever,
no, I don't think it's going to be interesting. Well, the whole AI thing is going to be a huge part of this next generation. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. That's not the worst.
I think it's going to be.
I don't think YouTube videos is the worst. Batman YouTube videos is not the worst implications of AI.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot worse things people do with it.
No, that's true. Uncertain, kind of weird times. Certainly. But I think it's going to be, and this is the sad thing, is that enough people won't, but it's going to be more important than ever to, pay attention to things and have a base of knowledge. Like, if you know who Kevin Conroy is and that he died, and you can look at a date on a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then there's that weird, possible reaction where maybe there's something in that actually comforts people, and then they're imagining that it's him. And then, is that a positive thing? Is that disrespectful to the memory of the man? What are the ethics with this kind of thing? Is it morally?
That's what's interesting to me.
Is it morally irresponsible? My gut reaction is, people make YouTube videos about everything.
Yeah,
my gut. Yeah, exactly. My gut reaction is people just mess with stuff. The technology is there; they're gonna do it, and it feels. Maybe it shouldn't. It feels maybe more disrespectful and wrong to maybe put it in a movie or something than just guy in his basement makes it and posts it on YouTube. But maybe it shouldn't feel that way. Maybe that's not. I don't know. It's just I haven't thought this out. I haven't figured out where I land on it yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a lot of time to figure it out. We've got the next.
This almost feels like trying to figure out my personal politics on the air or something. So it makes me uncomfortable. I don't know where I'm at with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting next couple decades for sure.
Yeah, when we're all brains in jars. And well, DJ, let's go ahead and do one more, and then we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for being here tonight, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've got one more Patreon question from Goofster, 123.
By the way, real quick before you read that, somebody earlier said, "Hey, I know that one of those had 2 questions in it. We only do 1 per person from Patreon with the Patreon perk. So just write 1 question, because if you write 2, we're gonna pick one."
Yeah. And it'll probably just be the first one because I don't like picking for you, so I just put them in order. This is from Goofster. I feel like with comics being an inherently episodic medium, that television makes more sense than film as a medium to adapt to. More to the point, it seems like being able to spend time with the character over completely written, all caps, 10 to 20 episode season would be better story-wise than cramming years of character development into 2.5-hour movie. Like, give me a Spider-Man TV show that's like Arrow Season 2 level writing at bare minimum, and I'll be over the moon. I guess I just want to spend more time with these characters in a status quo before everything changes or actors age out of their roles. Superman and Lois is everything I want for the character, and Gunn's film doesn't excite me in the same way. Thoughts?
So I'm going to disagree with the premise a bit and say that comics are not inherently an episodic medium. Comics can be both. And there are lots of, like, comics can also be anthology, just like television can, just like movies can. The issue that I think you're landing on here, though, is movies very often, and in some cases we've gotten better at it, in some cases we haven't. Movies with comic and superhero adaptation like to go with whatever the popular stuff is, and you're right, they'll very often cram in a lot of major elements of the big popular storylines in order to beef it up, look more epic, make the fans happy, and getting the major stuff in there. In a perfect world, we'd have our cake and eat it too, and we'd do both. And Marvel with Disney Plus has the opportunity to put their more kind of standalone anthology type movies in the theater, or even do singular couple hour pieces, or even specials. I like that they've done a couple specials on Disney Plus, or sorry, those on Disney Plus, or big event or anthology movies in the theater, and then do more serialized narratives as miniseries or even ongoing series on TV. I don't agree with the idea that every great comic thing is a long ongoing run or even a miniseries. There's a lot of great single issues that might be worth adapting to something shorter, or graphic novels, or even a 4-6 issue miniseries that you don't need several episodes in order to do. Very often, a single issue of a story in a comic book might only be 10-15 minutes or less on screen, so there are lots of stuff that you could adapt to movies. The problem is, and it also depends on the character and the best kind of stories that we're talking about. So, it would be nice if X-Men could be a TV show, if Spider-Man could be a TV show, but Superman and Batman, both. There's a lot of great Batman stories Superman stories that I'd love to see over a whole season, but there's also short stuff and one-off things that you can tell lots of great singular anthology stories. The new Hellboy movie is going to be that kind of thing, and that's perfect for what's some of the best stories with that character. So I do disagree a little bit with the premise, but I do agree that too often, we've seen it with X-Men, we've seen it with Spider-Man, we've seen it with a lot of stuff, that you'll cram too much of a run into a couple of hours, and then the next time you meet that character, we just do it again, instead of being able to adapt comic runs or comic series more straight to television. But yeah, it'd be nice if you could do both. It'd be nice if in the same continuity you could have like a big event Spider-Man movie, or even just a cool little one-off thing, but then also he's got miniseries, like the same character that can inform the movies. It'd be cool if we did that. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that's
not
really.
really. We kind of did it with Captain America. It sort of with Falcon and Winter Soldier. It wasn't real successful, in my opinion. But like, he's supposed to get a movie, so I guess we're kind of doing it with that character.
Yeah, that's what the Disney Plus show should be. Whenever Miss Marvel came out, the first 2 episodes, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is the episodic Spider-Man, live-action Spider-Man show we've never gotten. And then it just completely abandons that in episode 3. So, but they had it for a second there. I thought I was excited.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done. Netflix Daredevil, Jessica Jones, they had the right idea with all that. Because what they were adapting was that kind of serialized thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Fingers
anyway,
crossed.
well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you again next Thursday night with another one. Again, tomorrow night, Austin and I are going to do a watch party for the first episode, or the 2-hour pilot of the 90s Flash show. So look forward to that. Sunday night, the plan right now anyway, is to tackle the new Spider-Verse movie. Let you know if that changes and what time we're going to be doing that at, if it happens. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. And we also had DJ Martinez.
I was here.
Bye, folks.